I, 38M, have been married to Stella, 36F, for 3 years now. She has a daughter Alice, 14F, from her previous marriage. Before I met Stella, I was married to Emma for 8 years until she passed away due to cancer 5 years ago. Elena was an incredible artist who made her living by selling her artwork and teaching art classes. Our house was always filled with her sketches, landscapes, portraits, and abstract pieces that she created. After she passed away, I packed away most of her artwork except for a few special pieces that I kept in my study because they meant a lot to me. I met Stella 2 years after Elena's death through mutual friends at a dinner party. She was divorced and had full custody of Alice, who was 11 at the time. Her ex-husband had moved to another country for work and barely kept in touch with Alice. Stella and I dated for a year before getting married. Initially, things were great between all of us. Alice was a quiet but sweet kid who seemed happy to have me around. I tried my best to be a good stepfather without trying to replace her real dad. The issues started last year when Alice began taking art classes in school. She showed natural talent and her art teacher encouraged her to pursue it seriously. Stella was thrilled because Alice had never shown much interest in any extracurricular activities before this. I was supportive too and even bought her expensive art supplies for her birthday. However, about 6 months ago, I noticed that Alice's artwork was starting to look very similar to Elena's style. Elena had a very distinctive way of sketching. She used specific techniques for shading and had a unique way of capturing light in her drawings. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but then last month, Alice gave me a sketch of a garden scene that looked exactly like one of Elena's paintings. The resemblance was uncanny, from the way the trees were drawn to how the shadows fell on the garden path. When I asked Alice about it, she admitted that she had found some of Elena's old sketches in boxes in the attic while looking for Christmas decorations last winter. She said she thought they were beautiful and had been practicing copying the style. She even showed me how she had been studying Elena's techniques from photographs she took of the sketches. This revelation really bothered me. I asked Alice to stop copying Elena's style and to develop her own artistic voice instead. But she said she really liked this style and wanted to continue working in it. When I tried to explain why it upset me, she got defensive and said she didn't understand why it was such a big deal. Stella got involved and took Alice's side. She said I was being unreasonable and that I should be happy Alice found inspiration in Elena's work. The situation got worse last week when I came home from work and found that Stella had helped Alice put up several new sketches on the living room wall. They were all clearly inspired by Elena's style. There were landscapes with the same distinctive shading, portraits with Elena's characteristic way of drawing eyes, and even a sketch of our backyard that looked almost identical to one Elena had done years ago. Seeing these sketches every day started affecting me badly. I couldn't sleep properly because every time I walked through the living room, I was reminded of Elena. The similarities in the artwork brought back memories of watching Elena sketch in our old house, of the art shows we attended together, and of her final days in the hospital when she couldn't even hold a pencil properly. It was like reopening old wounds that had taken years to heal. Yesterday, while Stella and Alice were out shopping, I couldn't take it anymore. I took down all of Alice's artwork from the living room walls and threw them in the trash. Then I went to her room and removed any sketches that reminded me of Elena's style. I left her other artwork that had her own style, but probably threw away about 15 pieces in total. When Stella and Alice came back and found the artwork missing, all hell broke loose. Alice started crying when she realized what I had done. She had spent months working on those pieces and was planning to submit some of them for a school art competition. Stella was absolutely furious. She called me controlling and cruel, saying I had no right to throw away Alice's artwork just because it reminded me of my late wife. Alice locked herself in her room and hasn't spoken to me since then. She refuses to come out when I'm around and Stella has to take her meals to her. Stella is sleeping in the guest room and barely speaking to me except to tell me how disappointed she is in my behavior. Stella's parents called me yesterday evening and said I was being cruel to Alice and that I'm damaging her self-expression and creativity. My parents, while more understanding of my emotional reaction, still think I overreacted and should have found a better way to handle the situation. I know throwing away her artwork wasn't the right thing to do, but seeing those sketches every day was becoming unbearable. The house started feeling like a museum of Elena's memory again, just when I thought I had finally moved forward. Now my whole family is divided over this, with most people taking Stella and Alice's side. Stella keeps saying I need therapy to deal with my grief, but I don't think that's the issue here. I just wanted Alice to develop her own style instead of copying Elena's. Ida? Update 1: Things got much worse after my original post. Last weekend, Stella went up to the attic to start packing away the Christmas decorations early. She likes to be organized, and found the boxes containing Elena's original sketches. She spent hours going through them and comparing them with photos she had taken of Alice's artwork before I threw them away. She realized that Alice hadn't just been inspired by Elena's style, she had been meticulously copying specific pieces, trying to recreate them exactly. Stella confronted me about it that evening. She wanted to know why I had kept Elena's artwork hidden away in the attic while throwing out Alice's attempts to connect with that part of my life. We had a huge fight about it. She said I was clearly still holding on to Elena and wasn't ready for a new family. When I tried to explain that keeping Elena's artwork was different because those were original pieces by my late wife, Stella got even more upset. She pointed out how I still keep photos of Elena in my study, how I visit her grave every month, and how I talk about her with her family members whenever they visit. She said she had always respected my need to honor Elena's memory, but throwing away Alice's artwork while preserving Elena showed where my priorities really lay. The fight got heated and we both said things we probably shouldn't have. The next morning, I went to my study and found that all of Elena's sketches that I had kept there were gone. At first, I thought Stella might have moved them back to the attic, but when I confronted her about it, she admitted she had hidden them somewhere else. She said she did it to protect Alice and that I needed to let go of the past if I wanted to have a future with them. I completely lost my temper at that point. I told her she had no right to touch Elena's things and that she was being manipulative by trying to force me to choose between Elena's memory and them. We were shouting at each other in the kitchen when Alice came downstairs and everything got even worse. Alice had overheard our argument and started crying. She revealed something that made my heart sink. She said she had started copying Elena's style because she thought it would make me love her more as a daughter. Apparently, a few months ago, she had overheard Stella talking to her best friend about how I sometimes seemed distant with Alice compared to how warm and affectionate I was with Elena's nieces when they visited. Alice said she noticed how I lit up whenever I talked about Elena's art, so she thought if she could recreate that art, maybe I would feel the same way about her. She had spent months secretly studying Elena's sketches and practicing for hours every day, hoping to make perfect copies that would make me proud. This revelation hit me like a truck. I never realized Alice felt this way about my relationship with her. Sure, I might have been a bit more reserved with her compared to Elena's nieces, but I thought that was normal given that I'd known the nieces since they were babies. I didn't think Alice had noticed or that it affected her so much. Stella broke down at this point. Through her tears, she admitted she had noticed how I treated Alice differently but didn't know how to bring it up without sounding accusatory. She said she thought encouraging Alice's interest in art might help us bond, which is why she had helped Alice put up the sketches in the living room. She never expected it would backfire so spectacularly. The whole situation became too overwhelming. I couldn't handle seeing both of them crying and knowing I was the cause of their pain. I packed an overnight bag and went to stay at my brother's place to clear my head. My brother has always been my voice of reason, and I needed his perspective on everything. When I came back home the next day, planning to have a proper conversation with both Stella and Alice, I found the house empty. Stella and Alice had packed some bags and gone to stay with Stella's parents. Stella left a note saying they needed space to think things through. She wrote that maybe we had rushed into this marriage before I was really ready to be a stepfather, and that she needed time to figure out what was best for Alice. She ended the note by saying she wasn't trying to erase Elena from my life, but she couldn't watch her daughter try to become someone else just to get my attention. The part that really got to me was when she wrote that Alice had asked her that morning if I would have loved her more if she had been Elena's daughter instead of being a reminder that I was someone's second choice. I've tried calling and texting both of them, but Stella only responds with short messages saying they need time. Her parents called to say they're both safe but asked me not to come over as Alice isn't ready to see me yet. I'm still living in our house alone, surrounded by empty walls where Alice's sketches used to be, wondering how everything went so wrong. Update 2: Stella and Alice are still staying with her parents. We've been seeing each other only during weekly dinner meetings that Stella's parents arranged to help us work through this situation. These dinners are always tense and uncomfortable. Alice barely looks at me and only speaks when directly addressed. Stella tries to maintain polite conversation, but it's obvious things aren't getting better. During one of these dinners last week, Stella's mother revealed something that made me understand the situation better. She told me that before Stella agreed to marry me, she had serious concerns about how often I talked about Elena and how much of Elena's presence was still in my life. But Stella had ignored these concerns, thinking I just needed more time to properly process my grief. Stella's mother said she had advised Stella to wait longer before marrying me, but Stella was convinced that love would be enough to make things work. This revelation led to a long conversation with Stella after dinner. She admitted that she had always felt like she was competing with Elena's memory, but she thought she could handle it because Elena wasn't physically present. What she hadn't expected was for this situation to affect Alice so deeply. Last weekend, while cleaning the garage to keep myself busy, I found Alice's old sketchbook from before she started copying Elena's style. I spent hours looking through it. Her original artwork was beautiful and unique, full of vibrant colors and imaginative scenes that showed real talent. Her art teacher had written encouraging comments on several pages, praising her creativity and unique perspective. Looking at those sketches made me realize how much I had messed up. Alice had her own artistic voice, but my inability to let go of Elena had made her feel that wasn't good enough. I took photos of some of her original sketches and sent them to Stella, telling her how talented Alice was and how sorry I was for not appreciating her unique style. Stella replied saying she appreciated my gesture, but it was too late. During our next dinner meeting, I tried talking to Alice about her original artwork. I wanted to tell her how much I admired her creativity and that she didn't need to copy anyone else's style. But she just stayed quiet and kept staring at her plate. After dinner, Stella told me some things that broke my heart. Alice has stopped drawing completely and refuses to attend art classes anymore. She threw away all her art supplies and told Stella she never wants to draw again. Her art teacher called Stella concerned because Alice dropped out of the school art competition she had been excited about. Alice's grades have also started dropping. She's becoming withdrawn at school and doesn't want to participate in any activities. Stella said she found Alice crying in her room last week, looking at photos of her original artwork, but when Stella tried to encourage her to start drawing again, Alice said art just reminds her of not being good enough. Stella's parents suggested we all attend family counseling together, but Alice refuses to be in the same room as me for more than the duration of our weekly dinners. Stella tried to convince her, but Alice had a panic attack just thinking about it. Now Stella's parents think it might be better if we stop the weekly dinners for a while and give Alice more space. I've been staying alone in our house all this time, but recently Stella mentioned they might need to come back to get more of their things. She's looking for an apartment closer to Alice's school. She didn't say it directly, but I think she's planning to make our separation permanent. Every time I walk past Alice's room, which is still full of her things but feels eerily empty without her presence, I'm reminded of how badly I handled this situation. The walls where her artwork used to hang seem to mock me with their emptiness. I've moved Elena's remaining sketches back to the attic because I can't bear to look at them anymore. They remind me of how I let my inability to process my grief destroy my relationship with my stepdaughter. Stella says Alice is seeing the school counselor now to deal with everything that's happened. Apparently, the counselor thinks Alice's issues run deeper than just the incident with the artwork. She's dealing with feelings of inadequacy and rejection that might take a long time to work through. And the worst part is, I'm the one who made her feel this way. Update 3: Stella filed for divorce last week. She came over with her lawyer to discuss the terms. She said she had tried to make this work, but she couldn't stay in a marriage where her daughter feels like she has to change herself to be accepted. At first, she had hoped that giving me space would help me realize my mistakes, but seeing Alice struggle more each day made her realize we couldn't fix this. Alice's grades have dropped significantly. She went from being an AB student to barely passing her classes. Her teachers have expressed concern about her becoming completely withdrawn in class. She's seeing a counselor twice a week now to deal with everything, but Stella says progress is slow. The counselor told Stella that Alice's self-esteem has been severely impacted, and she's showing signs of depression. Last month, I tried one last time to make things right. I went to Stella's parents' house, after asking permission, and brought all of Alice's original artwork that I had found in the garage. I wanted to show Alice how much I appreciated her unique style. I even offered to help her set up an art studio in the house where she could paint and draw whatever she wanted. But Alice wouldn't even look at her old sketches. She just said she doesn't want anything to do with art anymore. When I tried to apologize again, she started crying and ran to her room. Stella later told me that seeing me just makes things worse for Alice. She gets anxiety attacks thinking about anything related to art or me. Stella and I have agreed on the divorce terms. She's keeping the house since Alice needs stability right now, and I'm moving out next week. I've already found an apartment across town. We're dividing our assets equally, and I'm not contesting anything because I just want this to be over as painlessly as possible for everyone involved. Stella's parents, who once welcomed me into their family, now can barely look at me. They're helping Stella with the divorce proceedings and have made it clear that they think this is the best decision for Alice's well-being. They asked me not to contact them or come to their house anymore. Yesterday, while packing my things, I found Alice's first drawing that she gave me for Father's Day 2 years ago. It was her original style, bright colors and unique patterns that only she could create. Looking at it now, I realize how much talent she had before I made her feel like she needed to be someone else. I'm leaving all of Elena's sketches in the attic. Stella said I can come get them later if I want, but right now, I just want to move out and give them the space they need. Looking back, I realize I was so focused on holding on to Elena's memory that I couldn't see how it was affecting my new family. The divorce will be finalized in a few months. Stella asked me not to contact Alice for now, saying maybe when she's older and has worked through her issues, she might want to talk to me again. But we both know that's unlikely. Some mistakes can't be undone, and this is one of them. I guess I'll have to live with the knowledge that my inability to let go of the past cost me my future.